You are not where you come from. And I say that in a sense, Kuti. Just because you're born from a place where roses usually don't grow doesn't mean you will never come out of that place as the first rose. You can become anything in this world, man. You just need to believe it first. The world believes in people who believe in themselves, because people who believe in themselves tend to show up. And showing up is not the easiest. Sometimes you gotta understand, you show up when your mom has just passed away, you show up when your kid is sick, you show up when there's no money, show up when you got no swagger, no confidence whatsoever. But you have to show up.
From eMandeni to global stages, DJ Sabby, known as the best thing ever, has built a legacy driven by passion and purpose. From his decade at YFM hosting The Best Drive to leading the best mornings on Metro FM, he has become the voice of urban youth culture. A BBC One Extra collaborator and TV host, DJ Sabby continues to elevate African excellence, proving that when passion meets purpose, the whole world listens.
But you got Johnny Walker now on.
Yeah, Johnny Walker is the partner, bro.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Just here. I'll show you your angles now as well. Then I'll just need to do my quick shout out, my bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making time, bro. I appreciate you, man. What brings you to the city, by the way? Why are you here?
We're doing a broadcast with Celsi. So
Okay.
Celsi bought some time on the show, so we came down this side to handle. And yeah.
I saw this post of yours now that you just put out maybe like
Yeah.
a couple of minutes ago. You were like, Cape Town's like your biggest market or something, bro. That was crazy.
It's mad. Funny enough, Cape Town for me holds a special place, even
Yeah.
on my caption, because it hit me today when I came this side. I'm like, man, I do the biggest breakfast show in the country, in the city that gave me my first shot. Let me put it out there first, you know? Because my break came through in Cape Town. My first commercial break on radio was at Guy FM.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah. The
For real, I
Gops
didn't know
movie.
that, bro. Serious.
Yeah, 2009. Got my break in Cape Town at Guy FM and was here for like a good 8 months. Left around Jan, Feb, back to Joburg. For me at the time was like 19 going for 20. It was still a tad bit slow for me. I was like, you know what?
Crazy, bro.
I think I got my stripes now. Let's go to the city, Joburg.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So like, what's that answer you give people if let's say you like out having dinner with your wife and then someone's like doesn't recognize it and like, what do you do for a living? What's that answer you give?
I'm a media practitioner. And I say I'm a media practitioner because I think it extends outside of broadcasting now. You know, there's TV, there's radio,
Yeah.
there's conceptualization, there's that creative mindset that comes to it. Sometimes I throw in a joke and say, well, I do it all outside of making medicine. You know, until I figure that one out, I'll also put it as part of my hustle.
I'll add it to that.
But if you're seeking creative solutions, man, I always feel like that's where I really excel. That's where I'm on my MJ, on my Kobe. Like I really feel like within that space, I truly shine.
So, bro, if we are watching, like one day I turn on Netflix and I'm watching the documentary on your life, right?
Yeah.
And then that logo goes tikugum, and now what's that opening shot? What's the opening shot to your story, bro? If I pick up your autobiography one day and I get to that introduction, like what would you think is like the beginning of your story?
George, wow. Sitting under a tree, wearing my shorts, Lee Cooper jeans, because my mom used to work at Lee Cooper. Sitting under a tree, cooking up a copper wire car, trying to make it look dope before I introduce it to the boys, because I've seen what they've been able to unleash. And that's probably where my story starts. It starts there because you do not know my background. You do not know where home is. You don't know much about me. I'm just another kid in the hood who's just trying to make a copper car that looks good. You don't know if I'm poor, you don't know if I'm broke, you don't know what my dream is. But in that moment, I'm in my creativeness. I think that's where creativity kicked in for me outside of, actually, I've never spoken about this. I think it kicked in for me that I have this thing in me that sees things differently outside of soccer with every other kid in the township. Because when you pull up your copper wire car and all the other dudes have already showed theirs, there's got to be something about yours that's different. Which tins did you use for your wheels? Did you go for the regular Coke can, or did you go for, the Fanta can? Did you use a cardboard so your car can be able to survive the wind and give it a little bit of, strength? How does it bounce? Does it move like what you saw in the music videos of Snoop D or Double G, these cars from LA? All of these spaces start really pouring into your fountain of creativity as to what you're exposed to. And it feeds into you. And with these small moments where you get to show it off, you kind of get an idea of where I'm headed. So I think I'm sitting under a tree to in isihlahla sendoni. Isihlahla sendoni is like these blackberries. And I say that one specifically because when that season kicks in, it's the summer season, and Indonia, I think, and everyone is looking for the blackest berry. I'm sitting under that tree. That's where it starts, actually.
That's so powerful, bro.
Actually,
that
yeah.
The creativity sparks with something tangible, bro.
Yeah.
That's something that you were doing with your hands and
Yeah.
that you were...
And it's all recycled. So you don't have to worry about money. It's all free. You find the cans in the dustbin, the wires, will burn a few things, be able to pull some wire out. Funny enough, at that time, wire was easily accessible before we knew that it was actually worth something.
Crazy, bro. That's such a dope story, bro. Yo, I saw that introduction, bro. I saw that movie, bro. I love that. Bro, when's the first time that I want to say either if it's music or if it's radio, like what's the first thing that catches your glimpse of like there's something there and you like hear it or see it? Is it music first? Is it radio first? Is it, when does the medium like cross your path that you're like, yo, what is this? And it grabs your attention?
I'd say music. I'd say music, and I love to say, through the songs my parents played, I knew how they felt. I could tell how my mom was feeling based on the songs she played. I knew where my dad's mindset was based on the songs he would play. I'd say music, And then later on, you start being more curious about these lyrics and the songs itself. And then you introduce to radio, but you're not paying attention to it at the time. I won't even lie and say by the age of 10, 11, 12, I was even thinking about, radio. But I was fond of the medium, My mom, we used to call a radio ukozi because that's all she ever played on her radio dial. Ukozi, same with my grandmother. Crazy. So that became the sound of my childhood, ukozi. Then you're going to these multiracial schools, everyone is talking about other broadcasters. Then you start changing the dial a little bit and getting into trouble because you forget to turn it back. You move to Metro. You're like, man, these guys are black. They're so fluent, That sounds cool. You move to the other side. It's East Coast Radio. I'm in KZN. It's like, oh, there's music like this. It's alternative pop music. Now it's outside of my R&B realm, outside of my gospel, my Scandi music. My mom was a massive fan of Kenny Rogers, so I was introduced to country music at a very young age. But there's another world I hear on these two stations. And the more you listen, you're like, I want to tap more into it. My uncle was based here in Cape Town, Baba Mncane. He was a massive fan of, his palette of music was different, man. Like he would play some jazz that was different. I think the first time I heard Dave Cos was with him. The Brandy Projects and the Monikers, the Teddy Pendergrass, all these other guys that were just in the forefront. He had this cool GT at the time. He would spin 3 CDs, load them from the back, and then would drive. And my ear would be just like, what is this? And then when he leaves, then I'm like, I need to get back into that. Then I would hear it on Metro. So that would become the continuation of my learnings. But music has just always been around me. And then later on, Love Life comes into my hood. and they're coming through at a totally different space. So Love Life built these Y centers in our township. Mind you, they were purple, man. In a place where purple was there was no house in my life I've ever seen purple. I've never seen any shop that was purple. 2002, 2003, that's when they built the space. And you get into the space, they got different codes of sports you've never heard of. Here, these guys teaching us basketball. There's volleyball, there's netball. Like, man, people play this? Then they came with computers. Then they had this program called the Radioized program. I'm like, what place is this? Then I started going there frequently, man, and started playing basketball. Basketball introduced me to the likes of Iverson. Was on fire at the time. At that time, I was a short guy, so I'm like, man, if Iverson moves like that and he's able to jump as high as he can, maybe I could do this thing.
And obviously against the grain. He was the dude with the tats and the thing, and like he wasn't the conventional guy.
Cornrows.
Yeah, cornrows, like
like okay. And he's this short point guard. I'm like, that's my dude, And then obviously I want to tell you about Michael Jordan, but there was something about Iverson, I won't lie, that for me I was like, maybe I could be like him. And also he was just a rock star. And then explore basketball. Then I ended up doing radio, and that whole vicinity changed me, man.
Wow, bro.
Changed me fully. So yeah, the Love Life Youth Center, that's where everything kind of takes off, man.
Everything
radio-wise,
music.
Because then you get onto radio, then you realize that, I could play music for people, The time we used to mix, all of us were mixing on one software at some point where it was purple and blue and yellow.
Like EJ or something.
Yeah, it was weird, man. But you realize that you can put these songs together. We had access now to computers so we could burn CDs.
And who are you listening to radio-wise that's like grabbing your attention that you're like, this is dope?
Linda's Beer, man. Linda's Beer. Whew.
Yeah.
The energy of Mr. Magic.
Yeah.
The guy was floating behind those links, man. Like, inspirational. And he would travel frequently to Joburg. Then he would speak Sesotho. I'm like, man, what's happening in Joburg? Every now and then he'll flip into all these other languages. Languages for me just reminded me of there's more to what I know, man. Like, everyone around me speaks isiZulu. Every now and then, you bump into English because of school. But what is that, Waitiba? What is it? What's that? You watch TV and Generations. Why do they put subtitles when they speak that? What is that? Yeah, man. Linda for me was fire. And when I flipped my radio dial, there was Trevor Williams on East Coast. Man, Trevor, I'm like, who's this guy? Trevor was fire. Trevor had a different playlist to what I'd hear from East Coast radio. And I go to Metro. There's guys like Vusi Letwala. I think he was still doing 12 to 3.
Yeah.
I'd wake up crack of dawn with Eddie Zondi. There's just so many. I think Touch was also doing Rhyme and Reason. And he just came through hella with that hip-hop music at the time.
Iconic,
man. Rhyme and Reason was just insane. Then you start streaming. People telling you about the station in Joburg called Y. And you're like, why are these guys on a youth station so big even outside of that place, Then you start listening, you hear of these Chileans, and then there's the DJ Smooths, you're introduced to the guys like the DJ Freshs of this world. Alex J, I think, was on 5. Also at some point when I think I had Alex J firstly on 5 before he moved to 947.
Yeah.
And he was so clean. I'm like, is he a robot? Like he would barely fluff, man. Like he would just
flow.
And how he would stop talking and a song would kick in. I'm like, ooh, I want to do that one day, And then by the age of 15, 16, I knew that because at the time I'm broadcasting in isiZulu. Then I realized that, nah, I don't want to do it mine in isiZulu. I want to do this thing in English. So at 16, that's when I made a decision that, I'm going for English. So when I came to Joburg 2008 to study radio production, I knew where I was going.
And Was that like a process of finding your voice in that? Was that like a long journey, or did you always? Because I think the first time, I think many of us that like learned about, I think you had that like early slot in YFM, bro, and
Yeah.
you definitely stood out like
Yeah.
voice wise. It was like, there were just some people that were just unique, and you were 100% one of those. I can't remember if you were after Wires or if you were.
Oh yeah. I
You
did
came
stuff with
in.
Warwick. Yeah.
You came in after, right? He was before in the
Yeah.
graveyard at some point, and
Yeah.
then you came in after, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Something along
Somewhere
those
there.
lines.
Yeah.
But like, I remember how unique your voice was when we heard it on radio.
Yeah.
And being like, "Who's that guy?" Like, yo, it's just like not. It was the way you flowed, the way you did your thing, but you had this like uniqueness to your tone. Was that tone something you consciously built, or is that something you were just like always complimented for and that you had?
It's weird, man. When I started out, because I come from KZN and I went to a school primarily or predominantly an Indian school, my tone and dialect and my entire accent early on was very, you could tell I'm from KZN. The way I enunciated words,
Where your lows coming out.
the 40s, and it would come out like that.
Okay.
And then my cousin, Nozugo, would always say, if you want to do radio, you got to figure out how you want to sound and how you want to clean it up. Okay. And I didn't get it at the time. So she put me onto Yo TV. And Yo TV, these, there was kids who went to multiracial schools with white people. I went to with Indian people. And how they would speak would be different. So I started taking in a whole lot more of Yo TV.
Crazy.
And that kind of like cleared, or I don't know, man, it fine-tuned how I spoke, enhanced my vocabulary, because how they would talk, I liked it. I enjoyed it. And then every now and then I'd practice certain words by myself. It's weird because now I remember these days. Like I remember the word laboratory. I'd always mess it up for some weird reason. I would say Dexter, blah, blah, blah. My sister say, you have to say the word laboratory properly.
Crazy, bro.
And then every now and then I would say, then eventually it started coming out at ease, small words like that where there were just so many vowels or syllables where I would struggle with. She came in really, really handy there. And I guess with time, you start speaking a certain way and you start developing a tone that becomes your identity. But at the time, there was no framing of country, no framing of any other person. I knew though I was working on something that would work for me one day. Then when I jumped on the radio, it worked in my favor, because even when I started doing bigger and bigger shows, people say, the problem with you, we can't pinpoint you to anyone. You're just yourself. And I felt like that was a privilege because you couldn't say he sounds like.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
That's something you absolutely had, bro.
Yeah.
And so, bro, how does why happen? I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things that happen that lead you to why, but how does that sort of, how do you get, is that the first big break, would you say?
So, first break is KFM.
Yeah.
94.5.
That's here in Cape Town.
Here in Cape Town.
Okay.
And how that plays out even is so crazy. So I'm interning at Nemisa. Straight after studying, I have access to studios. I was recording demos every day for all stations in the country. And I'm sending these demos every month, everyone. Mr. Singh, I think at the time, was at East Coast Radio. He says, let's meet up. I think I have something for you at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, nah, let's go home. But him giving me that email back gave me that thing, okay, there's something. I'm on the right track. I responded at the time. I was like, thank you very much, but I'll pass. And I'm like, what do you trust? Did Ian Brennan Cup, shout out to E, who's now married to Ilana Africa. He said, come down to Cape Town. I'm like, Cape Town? Yeah. Cape Town is so far, man. It's foreign. I'm like, let me go give it a shot. I responded. That time I was still doing a TV show called Bonisanani on ACBC One. So Monday to Friday, I'm an intern. Saturday and Sunday, I'm shooting this TV show. I'm adding Cape Town to my schedule to do these radio shows, 12 to 3, Saturday and Sunday.
How old are you this time? Like,
I'm 19.
19.
19. Bro, like, those 3 months, I knew this is what I wanted to do. Because
Crazy.
Monday to Friday, I'm spanning. Then I'm at the airport. Radio, straight from radio, back to Joburg, back down. I'm like, this is me. This is what I was made for. In and out of flights. TV is funding my flights. I'm not making that much on radio. But the passion and everything is just fueling the vision and the guy that I want to become.
Wow.
Until one day I collapse in the collapse in the lift, wake up in Ian's office, and Ian says, you need to rest. You're going to die. I'm like, okay, cool. I hear you.
Crazy, bro.
Then
Jeez.
Jan, he offered me a slot. I was like, nah, I don't think I'm ready for Cape Town right now, And also I had experienced my first racism incident, on KFM where this listener sent in an SMS at 32945. I still remember the SMS line saying, I went to the website and I realized you're black. I couldn't listen anymore. It hit me. I don't know. It hit me at the time. I was still young, man.
Yeah.
That was my first hate incident on the radio. And I think it kind of like got to me a little bit, made a decision. I'm leaving, asked Ian to please connect me to Prime Media Joburg. That's how I ended up on Highfell Stereo at the time,
Yes.
which is now 947. Had a short stint there. My reason
What
for...
were you doing there?
Still graveyard, Friday, Saturday as a stand-in jock.
Okay, yes.
I left also there because I was like, the conversations I'm having with these OGs, Sammy T, I would come in after Sammy T at times, Brad Brown, these guys are having problems with their houses. I'm like, bro, I'm struggling getting money to come to work. And I wasn't getting a whole lot of airtime, and shout out to Matapelo, who was a program manager, and Steven at the time was helping with programming. They were able to let me go, and I decided that I have to start all over again at the bottom, be an intern. Friend of mine, Mahotso, who we were interns together and working together at Namisa, had an account on the Y website, yworld.co.za. And I decided to use her account. She didn't mind me using it because I realized that more and more people who got through for interviews or auditions, whatever, at the YFM were ladies. I was like, man, maybe that's my shot. I'm going to apply with her name and wait for them to get back to me.
That's crazy.
Was my finesse. Applied with my Tapelo's email. They responded. I went for the interview. I remember Saul Penduga making jokes on me because he's like, my Tapelo. Tapelo. Because when they said my Tapelo, I was like, and then I had to explain. I was like, man, my calculations just always show that the ladies always got first preference. So I used the mate's email address and account on YWorld to get me in. And it worked, and that's when the story started. I was an intern. I remember bumping into the twins. The twins like, why are you an intern? You're on TV. You already done radio.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've realized that maybe to get in at Y, I need to start at the bottom again. And that was a 6 months journey. Did traffic at Y. Got my first slot 2012, doing Saturday and Sunday. Moved up the ranks, man, very quickly. Was on lunch. And then did one of the most iconic drive shows. And man,
you killed it, bro.
Oh man, it was an iconic drive show. The last person to do 4 hours, first radio nomination to come through for Y, first person to broadcast in London at the Wogan House Studios. I did some iconic stuff over there. Used that platform to solidify myself as a voice within the African space and just bringing African music in the forefront in South Africa. Man, I put my head on the line for so much. And I think that's what Y taught me. You got to represent something.
Yeah.
I think that's where I found my voice.
And it was an interesting time because some of the heavyweight sort of legends had left. And it was almost like, we'll never have another. And then it was like a bunch of guys pitched up that were like, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
We're seeing the next generation.
Yes.
And then it's like your hope is sort of restored where you're like, okay, no, there's a new generation of guys and they fire, like they're bringing something different, like, and then you jump from there to Metro.
Yes. But in between just to go back, I love you say that because I experienced the same thing at Y, right? So Spoo and them leave, More Flavors generation kicks in.
Yes.
And then when that generation was slowly phasing out, Mo Tolly, people are like, oh my God, why is dead?
Dead, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we kick in, we push, and then people start saying when we leave, why is dead?
Yes.
But I've always found myself in those circles of transition, where even when I joined Metro, people will be saying things like, ah, man, like there, so many terms are being used, saying Metro's changing, wada, 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 wada. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. Now I gotta reintroduce myself and prove to people that when I say I'm the best thing ever, I'm not fluffing. I know why I say that. And fast forward, created some history there in the short period of time I've been there. But going back to your question, I also get a chance to do BBC. I do BBC Sounds with Edu
Yes.
after going to London. Also do BBC One Extra, and that's always been a platform I always wanted to work for outside of South Africa. Just the BBC as an institution, and Radio One Extra, they've just always been super cool, man. So having a shot to work a little bit with Edu and Ace was quite cool. Gave me a glimpse of how they work that side.
Had that been done before?
Nah,
No, I remember, yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember. That was
yeah,
like quite a big moment for everybody, just like you
yeah,
transitioning to like
yeah.
a global platform and
Yeah. No, no one understand. Even when I got a stint on One Extra, and every week I would be playing South African music. I think that's our job as DJs, as radio people or practitioners. I don't need artists to credit me or whatever, but I've always been a bridge for artists, period.
yes.
There's so many artists I've plugged in the American market, Europe, and they know who they are.
Yes.
I would reach out to their teams, ask them to give me music. But I feel like that's my responsibility. My responsibility as a radio DJ or as a DJ is to throw seeds from where I come from, or music that I think is great, or talent that I feel like has so much potential, and just throw these seeds to other parts of the world so it can pick up momentum and just take off. I'm the first person who played, for example, the likes of Loiso in London. After that, he got a chance to do some amazing things. But I will take the credit and say I'm the first one who threw that seed of his music in that
Incredible.
part of the world. The Mananas of this world. There's so many, and I mentioned the R&B guys because I felt like that was my last stint in terms of seeding some artists in America, was really for the R&B scene, because I still feel like there's just so much great talent that could do amazing things abroad
So true.
with the right backing. So yeah.
Incredible, bro. And when you go to Metro, bro, what show do you start on first before you get to what's that transition like? Is the
So
conversation, what slot is the conversation, and how do
yeah.
you end up on arguably, I mean, maybe it's not even arguably, I would say the creme de la creme of
Yes.
like South African radio
Oh yeah.
is Metro,
Metro.
and your slot
Yeah.
specifically is the Dawn.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets bigger.
If yeah, when you say that, it hits. It hits. Uh, when I left Y, bro, there was no plan. It's COVID. I'm frustrated. I could tell I'm being pushed to the corner. I've been doing drive for close to 6 years. I'm asking for breakfast. Station is not willing to give me breakfast. Find myself in a stalemate position. I could tell, also once you start bumping heads with some people, you're going to become a problem. Had a chat to my wife after experiencing so much that I couldn't tolerate. Said, babe, I'm leaving. She was like, let's go. Put out that resignation. I had to be kind and very open to whatever Wise demands was when I sent in that resignation, because technically I still had one more year in my contract, because I had signed a 3-year contract, which was one of the first. Also, myself and Tap, we had signed 3-year contracts because we're solid pillars there, man. Like, we're bringing insane revenue, maintaining clients. Our audiences were great, were high, consistently on the rise. I'm not gonna lie, we're fairly well paid. But I'd also put it out to the universe that I'm only gonna do one until I'm 30. and the universe works how it works. When I turned 30, man, this the universe stomach just wanted to spew me out. I had to leave. Why?
When are you born, bro?
1990.
1990.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're the same. I don't know. I wonder if it's a 1990 thing. I promised myself
Yeah.
when I turn 30, I'm leaving Rocking the Daisies, man. So it's like it's crazy,
It's
man. It's
crazy.
like when you what was that? How would you? What is that? Like, what made you decide to pivot? Like, what's that thing? Is it just a timing? Is it like how would you explain that?
There's certain things I wanted to talk about that I felt also I couldn't talk about on why.
Okay.
I'd been with my partner for so long. I was like, I want to get married. I want to have conversations around that. It wasn't part of my mental plan to talk about marriage while I'm at Y. I won't lie to you. It didn't fit how I looked and how I sounded like doing all of that there. I couldn't hear myself saying why at 31, 32.
Wow.
Mentally, I couldn't, even when I went to the parties at some point, I could tell I'm saying goodbye. There's a part of me that's shedding off. I'm like, this was a great run, man. Sbu told me when I joined Y, I remember at 2021, is like, because I always say I'm also from the old school Y. It was black, around it was red. And he was like, Mana, you need to stab the brand. You see, when you look at the brand Y, around it is red, it's the blood. You must stab, milk it, make the most out of it. Don't let anyone tell you that it doesn't work. The brand works if you work. If you leave Y without 2 houses, then you didn't use it properly. Dog, I'd done that. Got my 2 houses. I had enough, with whips. Had a kid at 27. I had found a woman that I knew that I want to marry. What else? Also, when I looked at the back, here are the guys that I really feel like are talented, that have not tasted breakfast or drive. I felt like I'm hogging a spot. It's time to jump.
How many years were you on that slot?
I took over 2015 to leave 2021, 2020, somewhere there. I'd
Crazy,
been
man.
done drive for a while. The only thing that I never got to do was breakfast there. And that's what I was asking for. Let's do a swap with myself and Tap. He comes to drive and I do breakfast, but they didn't want to do that. I put in my resignation, take the leap of faith. Only called 2 program managers at the time. Sia Figelepi, who's now my program manager, weird enough, was still a program manager at 5. Then I called Tony. Those are only 2 program managers I called. Because also, you're aware of who you are in the ecosystem of radio. Now, if you're calling so many program managers, you come across as desperate.
Out. Yeah, and so small industry, people
small
talk
industry.
and they're like, hey, this guy's...
Yeah. I call my 2 hitters. I'm like, okay, cool.
Wow.
I introduce myself to Sia. Hey, I'm Sabby. I'm from Y to drive currently. I'm leaving in the next 30 days. If you have anything, it'll be great to chat. At the time he says, listen, if you spoke 3-4 months ago, we'll probably do something, but it's done. It's chai. I had spoken. Tony, we've always had a rapport. We've always had a great relationship. And he had said, when you're ready to leave Y, let me know 12 months prior, because I would really love for you to join my team. I was like, yeah. But when he told me that I had just taken over drive at Y, I wasn't thinking, I called him. I was like, hey, Tony, I'm leaving Y, soon. It's like, how soon? I'm like, month end. It's like, month end, dog, my lineup, I'm tight. I'm finished. I don't have anything. If something happens, we'll chat. I'm like, cool. I'm just letting you know. 2 weeks into the month of March, Tony calls me back. I'm like, okay, cool. Tony's interested in me. He's the only program manager to call me back out of the 2. Says, I need proof that you're leaving Y. Like, what kind of proof? Something. Because right now, the people I'm chatting to, they don't believe that you're leaving. Now I need to find a way to get the press release out that I'm leaving.
Okay, it's not public knowledge yet.
It's not public knowledge yet. Y doesn't want me to put the press release out.
Of course,
Chat, because there's clients technically that have signed in to still be part of the show in April.
Yes.
Because I'm still doing drive, technically.
Yes.
Then I call Sheila. Sheila was doing my PR.
Yeah.
Like, Sheila, we need to find a way to get this thing out there. Y doesn't want me to make a press release. I'm in a tight ship, you know. She does like, let me think. So she calls me back a day or later. She's like, technically, if a journalist puts it on a social as a rumor, you didn't communicate to anyone. Like, cool.
Oh, snap. You guys are then like that.
So she's like,
You
we
guys
got
leaked.
we leaked.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
the most trusted voice is Phil.
Yeah.
Let Phil put out the rumor, um, which is true. So Phil put out a tweet. That rumor is that Sabby is leaving
Yo,
War
I
at the end of
remember
this
that
month.
went crazy on social.
Oh,
Yo. That went mad.
that was fire.
Yeah.
That was
Amazing.
wildfire. That was wildfire, George. That thing. At some point, I was sitting in my car. I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, this is me."
I'm sure you feel your impact in that
Yes.
moment where you go like, and I'm sure someone who wants to work with you also feels your
Yes.
impact and goes, yo, wow, this guy's really
Yeah.
left a mark. If people are feeling this way, they're going to feel this way about him coming back somewhere else. That's incredible, man.
It was insane, bro. I felt emotional because I couldn't respond. Now I'm just hearing people sharing their stories, what I've done for them, and the role I've played in their lives, artists, everyone. Then why I was forced to push their lineup announcement, as to what they're going to be doing, who's going to be taking over. They push the lineup announcement. They tell the Y Nation that Kuto's going to be taking over my show. And I wanted the transition to be very easy and very authentic for Kuto to take over with no animosity. I did an interview with her. And by the time she took over, it was on a beautiful, clean slate. But that goes out. Now I need to worry about, okay, cool. The world now knows what's going on. And I think that also helped because a few days later, I get a call, Tony and Sbongile, Sbongile was a station manager at Metro, Tony was a program manager, and we had a meeting. It was a sit down, chat. At the time, Thomas also makes an announcement that he's leaving Metro.
Oh, crazy.
So now I'm getting calls. People think I'm getting 12 to 3 at Metro
Wow.
weekdays. Hey, I'm like, also maybe that's what's about to happen, man. 12 to 3, I'm about to get it. And yeah, man, I guess in God's time, it wasn't the time. They offered me the top 40 on weekends. And I love a challenge, man. I took it. And music is my comfort zone, man. Music is my comfort zone. I was like, okay, let me show you what I can do. I'm not a weekend DJ. I know I have so much to offer in any lineup. I'm a guy you put on a weekday. I'm a striker. I know my offering commercially, content-wise. I know what I bring to the table. And I'm confident about that.
But also, if you put me to play defender, I'm going to be
show
the
you.
best defender you've ever had in your life.
Exactly.
And that's something I appreciate about you. You're always able to separate the ego. No matter what realm you step into, you go like, you know what? It's okay to start from the bottom again. I'm not going to come in here and say, yeah, but do you know who I am and what I do? You're like, no. New realm, new rules.
Yes.
If I need to show you again. And that's something I really appreciate about your personality, bro. It's like, carry on, bro. Sorry for cutting
But
in.
that's the thing, is that I was dominating one province for 10 years. There's 8 other provinces that don't know me. So as much as they're aware of me because they've seen me do my thing on TV and all these other platforms and ads, but radio is fair. Allow them to be. And maybe my story is different where I'm not as fortunate with my story to say I left Drive for a Drive show. But I left a Drive show to go do a top 40 show, made history in making a top 40 show the number 1 show in the whole station. And it just goes back to work and tenacity and
100%.
just knowing what you bring to the table.
And I think it's important to maybe just state, I mean, this is what I've been told from people on radio. Apparently you get when you have a drive time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, drive time or breakfast show, you get one big career move to another station. And usually that move is to do another drive time or
Yeah.
breakfast somewhere, you know. And that was like Anelis told me that, Fresh has told
Mm.
me that, you know, and that was the stigma around that time. And then here you go, no, I'm okay.
I'm
To
okay.
take. I think it was a Saturday you were
Yeah,
doing.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. Also, I feel like it was a moment of learning. I will always be an advocate of there's nothing wrong with being the new guy and being a student because
Yeah.
you're always a student. You know, Metro is a big dog, and here I
Big dog,
am
yeah.
getting a chance to be one of the biters, you know, and I'm doing this chart show. It gave me room to feel the waters.
Yeah.
And I started getting chances to stand in for people. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay.
It just made the chart show fire, bro.
Man.
You took it to
The next level. Made that thing the number one thing on the entire station. You know,
it was the biggest
bulldozer.
accolade in the music industry
Yeah.
was that show
Yeah.
and being involved in that chart
Yeah.
and being involved on that show, bro. It was like, and kudos to you, man. That was like,
Thanks, man. And my game plan was very simple. I realized there was a disconnection between the artist and radio. It's like I'm going back to the artist. I'm going back to the artist. Tell the artist, you have to be excited about being on this chart show. You know what I mean? Wait to labels. Labels every Monday they do reports of how the artists performed on charts across the country. Took that information, put it on the radio. I was like, if your label ain't calling you on Monday that you didn't make no chart, especially this chart, hey man, you know, reminding artists that one spin over here is worth more than you get on these streaming platforms. It's just facts.
it's like, just to give people context, it's like it was the equivalent of like being on the Billboard 100. It was
Exactly.
like if you were there, it was like, oh, yo,
Exactly.
if you had the Metro FM #1, you had the biggest song in the country. You know?
You matter.
Yeah.
You matter. If you in the top, then I made a big deal about the top three. I was like, man, it's great that you're part of the chart. You know, you 37 songs in, congratulations, but you don't get a medal. The top three, you get a medal. That changed the face of it all.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's all the creativity, the small bits that you put on the table and offering for the listener. Well, it's not just the chart show, it's an experience. You have to listen to it between 9 and 1 so the tail end makes more sense. Because even at the bottom, there's other things that I was cooking up, you know, brought in the Africa boombox at Metro, opening up the window for people to hear what's happening within the continent. I did probably what I feel is the first on radio, period. 3 of the biggest cities in the world, 3 of the big DJs across the world coming together every week, talking about songs that are big in their market. This airs on their radio stations, online. And what I did was myself, Nala Simone on Power 105, who works with Charlemagne the God, DJ Envy on The Breakfast Club. I have DJ Ace, the champion of music in the UK on BBC One Extra. I, on Metro, 3 of the biggest hot points in the world, talking music, gathering. That's never been done.
Crazy.
We did that, took off. We ended up getting a shot on One Extra where we did, it was like the New Year show. 2 hours transitioning from 1 year to the next year. For me, that was huge. You know. And it's small moves like that with a greater impact that put us into a different position as Africans and also just as broadcasters, you know. I still feel like as South African voices, there's so much that we can still offer to conversation across the world. And that's why I wanted to tap outside of home. But everyone I spoke to always told me that before you try to initiate a career in Europe or America, you need to win home first. That's why it mattered that I win at Metro. You know, I couldn't leave Metro having peaked on a top 40 because already when I just joined Metro, I started having stations calling me, giving me offers, but I had to win at Metro. My story couldn't end as, man, yeah, they did this thing on the top 40, man. Yo, even on the top 30, I have to have a story where it's like, hey, that dude, man, came through on the top 40, ended up on breakfast, killed it. And God works how he works because that's where the story is right now. I am at the top of the food chain, and I'm not going to lie. We stab. I don't want to sound aggressive, but we're stabbing heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was crazy that transition when we had you back on weekdays. It was like, yo, we almost forgot how good you were there, you know? And like having you back there was like, Okay.
But I also came through with another challenge.
Yes.
My journey had a lot of
Did
challenges.
you jump straight from there to?
No, so I moved from the top 40 to be thrown into another challenge where I do 9 to 12.
Yes, 9 to 12. Yeah.
9 to 12 is a challenge because the last guy to do that show was Mr. Isaac Pasha.
Yeah.
Bra Iko's now on Radio 2000. The last time people heard a man in 9 to 12 on Metro was 20-something years ago. And here I am, to do Ask a Man, which is an institution. Ask a Man is like a show in a show. There's like 2 shows in there. But then again, man, it was another challenge. Radio for me is radio. Just do radio.
Yeah.
What do people want to hear between 9 and 12? Do that. Just do radio, and we did wonders there.
It's not about you, right? It's about the person listening, and how do we take that experience to a whole other level. And sometimes we'll give them something they might not agree with, but we're gonna test them, and we're gonna take that journey with them.
Exactly. I always say, when I do these TV and radio workshops, I haven't done them in a while, the word presenter will tell you, it kind of breaks it down what is expected out of me as talent, right? It's if you write down the word as you watch this podcast, right? The word presenter is presenter. The first 3 letters is pre. It's the prep. The prep is everything. You prep the present before you deliver it. Some people open the microphone, they embarrass themselves because you think you can just say whatever. No. It's important for you to prep the present before you send it. And I say present because that's also part of the word presenter. It's the present that you prep before you deliver it. And you have to be present in the moment behind the microphone for someone to allow you into their space, which brings me to the word enter, E-N-T, after, if you have the word. People need to let you into their space, and you need to be present to be allowed into that space. And then it's sent. It's the present that you had sent, That already is my analogy and how I was able to break down the word to say, for as long as you understand that itself, then you know what it means to be a presenter. Some people, they wing it. You can wing it, but not all the time. Respect the listener, because they respect you by allowing you into their space. We're living in a time where they honestly don't have to listen to you. They can choose to have an afternoon drive show for their breakfast, or have a lunchtime show somewhere in the world as their option to wake up in the morning, but they choose you. So what are you bringing when they open up their radio? So for me, that's just always be a major key. For as long as I respect the listener, my numbers will never be low.
I love that, bro. Dropping bars. Yeah, that's powerful. Bro, a couple more questions I've prepped for you. I'd love to know, who would you say is your earliest supporter in what you do?
My mom.
Moms.
My mom, without a doubt. My mom technically knocked off at 4 on Fridays, but I had a radio show between 4 and 5. But she found a way to leave early on Fridays to hear me. Brings emotions. She didn't know what I was doing, but she knew it made me happy. And yeah, man, like, my mom has just always been a supporter of my stuff. She would listen, because I started with narrowcasting, so she'd come to the center, sit and listen, and then she'll give me feedback. She'll tell me what I liked, what she liked when she was listening.
That's so special.
The songs I'd play. Sometimes I think she would hear parts of me that she's never heard before, because that's what radio did. Radio gave me room to bring out another part of me that I don't think I was aware of, and I enjoyed that. I felt like there was a part of me that was able to shed off a skin that kind of held me back. It brought some color into my world, made me feel alive, and to this day, that's why I never take any link for granted. When that link goes on, it's bigger than me. There's someone who dropped so much to be able to listen to the show. So why would I take that person for granted? But to answer your question, man, my mom, man. My mom.
Incredible, bro.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful answer, bro. Is there like a most memorable interview that comes to mind when you think back to I must say the thousands of people you've spoken to? Like, whether good or bad, are there some, you've mentioned one bad, someone giving you feedback. Is there any like good that pops into mind, like when you think of like iconic, whether you were most nervous or you grew the most? What's the interview that pops into mind?
I'd say Keenan. There's never interview I've had with AK that was the same. Keenan had me in my toes. And I say had me in my toes because, man, like, there's one interview that went viral at some point where we're having a conversation off the air. And we have this chat off the air. I'm like, yo, at that time, you were still going through that moment with Prince and his label and whatever. There was so much going on. So we have this chat. I'm like, you mind if we bring this on the radio? He was like, okay, whatever. I bring it on the radio without offering much detail because we're picking up from an off-air conversation. I throw it back at him, and then he spins on me. And it becomes a viral moment. And that was Keenan. Keenan just knew how to create viral moments out of anything. And that took off, I remember telling him, Keenan, you're not going to be a diva on my show, waiting for an ad break. But that was Keenan, man. Keenan made it fun. You never knew what to expect. But he always gave you an iconic interview. Same with Makado. Makado was energy driven. Like if his energy wasn't aligned, he wasn't going to give you an interview. So that also sticks out for me because when Ricky spoke, he always spoke from the heart. And when his thoughts were troubled, he would share that because as people, we're not perfect. And he would bring that in the forefront. He wasn't a person who would harbor a whole lot of things in. He would share on the radio. It's just that sometimes we don't pay attention. He would speak about some of these things through his music and also some of these interviews. Even the last interview, that he did, he said, if I don't see you again, it's goodbye from me. There's just always been subliminals and these small hints in most of the interviews that he had done. And I have to give him a cut of that. Who else? I think those two maybe come top of mind because I've been fortunate enough to interview them so many times, and there's no interview that's the same.
Yeah.
All interviews were different,
That's powerful, bro.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Do you read, bro?
Sorry?
Do you read books?
Yeah, I try. I try.
What's one book you would say you've read more than any other book?
Who Stole My Cheese? I forgot who wrote that book. It's a short book,
Yeah.
but sometimes we're scared to get out of our comfort zones that we realize we forget that the cheese moves. Get out of your comfort zone, the cheese will run out. But if you stay in your comfort zone for so long, someone might take your cheese. And because you've just been chilling there in your spot, thinking no one ever gonna find your cheese, it runs out. Always move. Your cheese moves. I've read that book so many times. It's something John Spencer. I think it's John Spencer. I've read that book probably
I'll
4
link
times.
it for everybody. Yeah.
That
So
book,
I'm gonna check it out.
to people who don't read or who feel like reading is a chore, it's the shortest book you'll probably ever come across. But the life lessons that come out of the book is hectic. Yeah.
I love that, bro. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the most important artist? And when I say the word artist, it can be across, it can be a presenter, it can be anybody. Who would you say is the most important artist in your existence? The one that has impacted your career the most by far?
Okay, shout out to Drake. I think Drake is iconic, right? But what Drake doesn't have over guys like Tupac, right? Tupac is timeless in a sense. Tupac spoke about a whole lot of stuff: politics, black issues, police brutality, troubles of a black man. And he did all of this in 26, 25 years. Violence in the hood, alcohol, substance abuse. There are so many touch points and subject matters Tupac was able to express in his short time, even expressing his creativity through acting, exploring your creativity, I would say even as a model, some of the photographers he's worked with, he was just always open to trying out stuff, and it's sad we lost him so early. And I say him because growing up, my neighbor would play so much hip hop music. Yeah, I was sharing it on the other day on the radio, the likes of your Bone Thugs and Harmony. There's Tupac, and then there's B.I.G. A whole lot of West Coast music with the Dr. Dre's of this world prior to our generation of hip hop music. But Tupac stands out for me because some of the stuff that he spoke about from way back in the day, they're still an issue to this very day. And I say this as a black man. But also, I can't take away from what Jersey Drake has been able to do. But to answer your question, I'll say sometimes Tupac is a reminder that using your voice speaks for people who are scared of speaking about their problems and their issues. And sometimes we have to use this thing to elevate the conversation.
As a tool.
Yeah, as a tool.
I love that, bro. Important question, bro. Last few questions before we wrap up. If someone's listening to our chat, bro, and they somewhat see themselves in you, I know no two paths are the same, but if someone's, wanting to pursue a career in whether it's radio, whether it's, hosting their own online radio show, whatever it is, what is advice you would give to a younger version of you if someone was like, let's say, if you were chatting to the 18-year-old version of you, or if someone who see themselves in you, like, what is some words of advice you would give to that person?
It's one of those questions where it has you traveling back to moments that you've had to go through to get to where you are. But I'll say now my message changes, right? Back then when I was privileged with time, and one thing I've learned to this passage of time is embrace people who are there in your corner, man. People who support you. For example, my mom used to tell me this, and every time I got this question, I'd always say, you are not where you come from. And I say that in a sense, Kuti, just because you're born from a place where roses usually don't grow, doesn't mean you will never come out of that place as the first rose. You can become anything in this world, man. You can literally become anything in this world. You just need to believe it first. You need to believe it first. The world believes in people who believe in themselves, because people who believe in themselves tend to show up. And showing up is not the easiest. Sometimes you got to understand, you show up when your mom has just passed away. You show up when your kid is sick. You show up when there's no money. You show up when you got no swagger, no confidence whatsoever. But you have to show up. Show up is a cousin to consistency. You can't be consistent if you don't show up. You can't show up if you're not consistent. I sing that song always. But going back to the other point of embracing those you love, I'll say to my 18-year-old self, I understand what you're working towards. But spend a little bit more time with your mom. Visit her more. Get off your phone. Create more memories. Chat. Look at your mom in the eye. Smell her a little bit more. Hug her a little bit more. Because she's not there on the other side. And that's the thing, is that we think we are here forever. We're not, this conversation happens today, and we're fortunate we're capturing it. And this is the only way we're able to capture time, is through this, with these cameras. But find it in your schedule, in your day, to immerse yourself in the people that you love, man. It's something that me and my wife have also established in the house, where we talk and we look at each other in the eye. We nowadays talk and we're looking at each other on the phone. We're looking at the phones while we're talking to people.
Yeah.
And we don't look at each other. It's very important. Acknowledge people. See people. Feel energy. Feel their presence. We're not here forever. So I think those are some of the things I'll tell him. And it gets hard, but it gets great. And I'll tell him that, bro, we did it, man. It's going to be tough, but we did it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And keep showing up, be consistent, whatever you're feeling like. And there were times I had suicidal thoughts. You show up, and you pull yourself out of that, you know. And so yeah, I'll say show up, man. And God's time is everything.
I love that, bro. That's powerful. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing, bro. What comes next, bro? Like, where does your mind go when you've got the hottest radio show in the country? You're one of the most important players in the space. Like, we're manifesting now. Like, if you and I are sitting down in like 5 years, we're having another chat. I'm like, yo, DJ Sabby, what's been happening? Like, where is that future self? Where's that projection when you're thinking in the next like couple of years? Like, is it a global play? Is it still radio? Is it, focusing on the pod? Is it like, where do you see the sort of trajectory in what you're doing?
I love that question. I love it because I was chatting to my wife the other day. I was like, mentally, I'm on Operation 40. I think right now, man, it's crazy. We're closer to 40 than ever.
Yeah, yeah.
40 is in 4 years' time.
And 40 is the new 20,
40 is we're going to be saying things like that, 40 is the new 20. I'm still on the radio, though. I won't lie to you. I'm still on the radio. But I'm very big on being in the present, right? But to answer your question, as I turn 36 next year, one of my key things, even this year I've been chatting to people. I even started a pod, but I haven't released it as yet. Weird enough, because turning 35 for me was a year of chatting to other people that are the best thing ever, right? And that was the idea around my podcast.
Yeah.
I still need to drop these episodes. They're chilling. Shout out to Jules for being patient with me. It's chatting to people who are the best thing ever in their own industries. And the reason why I was chatting to them, as someone who I feel like has really found a beat and a finesse with media and entertainment, how did you do it, in events, as you were able to make that transition as a beatboxer, as a lover of music to hosting the biggest names on stage. How did you do that? Boy of mine, Kenny's got one of the biggest logistic transportation companies with buses. How do you do it at such a young age? I even had Sean, owner of Rockets. How do you do that? It's chatting to people who have been able to become the best. And through their stories, it's finding out which industry would I like to tap into that I can be a student and just invest in that space. Because 40 for me, when I reflect and I think of what I'd like to say to myself in the next 5 years, is saying, bro, we kept hearing about AI and we actually put in money and we followed through. We kept hearing that, farming is still crucial. Some of these countries need tomatoes, garlic, and it might sound small, but, Dangote started with tomatoes, why not? But I would love to, my plan in the next 2 years, 36 and 37, is to tap into spaces that are outside of this thing, man. I want to tap into spaces that really don't rely so much on cameras. It's a need. People need it. It's stuff that is outside of showbiz, bro.
Okay.
That's where I'm at mentally. It's wanting to play into those spaces where I can be a student, and hopefully the returns will be great. But outside of the returns, it's also about mental growth. Also, I want to buy a house like Black Coffee in Cape Town, hopefully by 40 in Cape Town. Just like like yourself, and just be able to have some walls in Cape Town and a piece of land that I can say is mine.
Well, my apartment's not 157 million rand.
But it's a win.
But yeah, of course.
It's a win,
absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
It's a win.
Any other investments you got your eye on? Is it crypto? Is there buying shares? Is there any other things you like?
I'm very private in that. Very private in that, but something that I'm really working on the side is just helping my wife take off her Zaga Kids project. Amazing. It's a passion project. She's very passionate about kids' clothes, very passionate about kids.
Incredible.
So we're really going in hard in that space. Kids' clothes, and how that business started was literally, every time we'd buy clothes for our son, we would be bored by what we see in the market. And she decided to action that, you know. She started a kids shop. We're currently in Rosebank at Soko District.
Incredible.
So I even held back my clothing brand this year and last year because currently we're just focusing on that.
Focus, yeah.
You know, my wife's brand. So also 4 years time, I'd love to see it grow. Very supportive of what she's been able to cook up over there. And then yeah, we'll see. Next year, definitely back on TV. Content creation is still one big thing, you know. We joked about it. I remember 6-7 years ago, myself and Ice Prince talking in Nigeria. We're like, you know, people don't get it, man. Content is the new oil. You know, at the time when he would say that, we'd all look at him like he's crazy. But content is the new oil. If you play your cards well, content will take care of you proper.
Definitely.
We're seeing what these content creators are doing, and we said it 8-7 years ago, looking from the outside before we even started documenting things. Everyone is documenting. We're seeing the rise of the streamers now, you know, with the Kaiser Nats and the speeds of this world. And more people are putting cameras and telling their stories. Content is the new oil. You just got to find a way to monetize it and find ways to really take it to the next level. You know, look at what Tyler Perry has been able to cook up. There's just so many people that are very inspiring, especially when it comes to this. And we can create more and more. And I think we're moving into that space where collaboration is major key.
Yeah.
No man is one island, and it's part of my growth. Also, I've been a fan of collaboration, but I think if I collab with people with dreams of starting things, you know, be it in technology and whatever, and I can bring my expertise and pour it into their worlds, we could take it off to the next level of our collaboration. So mentally, that's where I'm at.
Who is someone, if you had to mention, like, if I was in the same room with that person, I think we could create something incredible? Who comes to mind? And it doesn't need to be in media. It's like, whether it's clothing, it can be business. Who's someone that you just like, their principles, their values as a human, you're like, if I were to work with that person, would do something incredible?
I would love to pick Steve Stout's brain.
Incredible.
I think what Steve was able to do for hip hop and what he's still be able to do right now with music, with his platform and just how he sees artists. I think I've always been a fan of his mindset and just his way of thinking. I've always been a fan also of Ryan Seacrest. You know, Ryan was able to take what he loves and put it in different hospitals so sick kids who are sick can use radio to escape their pain.
Incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah, mentally I'm there. I'm very big on giving. You know, I'm very big on giving. I'm very big on CSI. The older I get, I post less. It's weird. I'm enjoying my space a little bit more. I'm enjoying, because also we give so much of ourselves to the world. You know, Jack Harlow said it so well. Like, there's certain things I want to be the only one who knows. You know, what my bed looks like, how my room looks like. I love that. And the older I get, I realize that there's some truth in that.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Not everything needs to be shared. You know? But bro, what a crazy time. I feel like my prediction is not only is radio here to stay, like I feel like radio is going to have a massive surge soon, because I feel like in a world where we are living in so much clutter of like content creation is like a prompt these days. It's no longer like having to create, you know, like, and with AI being here, I feel like curation is going to be a massive play. And I genuinely think the radio players that are living in the hybrid space, so they're like existing on YouTube and so on and so forth. A lot of the times it's snippets, right? I do think there's going to be a blanket license that will come to play, like radio, where you can play any music. Like, you can do that somewhat on radio, on YouTube now, but around copyright, there's still a lot of issues. But I think that once that gets solved, if you think about it, like radio can transition to YouTube. You can't take any YouTube show and put it on radio. Like, this is the different art and rules to radio. That's like, you can't just go take a podcast and show and put it on a drive time.
It's different.
It's
different
over.
fully.
Same day they're cutting that show. So it's like, it's a different art form, but this art form can live in so many different spaces. So like, I think radio has such a great future, and I think curated content has such a great future.
I'm with you. But at the same time, I don't want any person who is behind the microphone to relax.
Yeah.
At a point at where people behind the microphone and radio relax, we don't want to become like what's happening right now with MTV.
Yeah.
When TV came into the space, they said TV killed the radio star. It's all about innovation. It's all about preempting what is next.
Yeah.
If you don't innovate, they'll take you out. There's moves, for example, that, with what you're saying. I remember chatting to a mate of mine, was 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, when Zane Lowe jumped from BBC and went to Apple Music, I was like, okay, the future, something is happening. Because when Zane left BBC, man, like, he was interviewing the biggest names in music. Trending viral moments, Kanye West, name them, he was interviewing them. And he took that leap of faith to showcase what he can do for music and also his mindset, and helped shape what is now Apple Music One or Apple One. And to see how that platform has also grown throughout the years proves my theory when it comes to collaboration. For music to thrive, institutions, platforms need to collaborate with the artists. And what they did at some point, teaming up with stations in Nigeria, buying out or utilizing airtime of slots that you would think people don't listen to and put their program in there, is what I think is going to happen into the future, where we're going to see streaming platforms and radio collaborate, right? And I say that because radio tends to focus at this moment on the 6 to 6 or 6 to 9. And if you take a look at most radio stations after 9, there's a whole lot of automation that's going on. So what beats the likes of your Apple Music, your Amazons, and all these other streaming platforms coming to a Metro, coming to any other platform and saying, hey, we'll pay you X amount of time for that airtime that you got in automation. You create your own audience, you create a new database, you create your own universe utilizing radio to feed into your streaming platforms. And also radio gets to get content for free. It's no cost and you still get to make money out of it. So you're right about it, but
I never thought of it on the reverse. That's so dope that you, because I'm thinking like YouTube, but you're so right in saying that like someone's show on Apple can live on.
Yeah, because on radio, if I'm a 5 FM radio station,
that's so true,
and I collaborate with an Apple Music, a Spotify, and they're saying they're going to take a slot that I'm not using anyway, and I'm streaming music.
So true, yeah.
And at that time slot, these guys can give me interviews with the biggest artists, biggest musicians, and all the stuff that's cool in the market, and I don't have to worry about the costs, and I'm making money out of it. Take those 3 hours. Absolutely. What's happening on some radio stations between 12 and 4, they're doing reruns of some of their daytime shows. You know what I mean? So there's so much airtime on radio that's happening on certain platforms that creatively, streaming platforms, podcasters, the same energy that's happening with TV, where TV says to people like yourself as podcasters, I have a slot. So if you have a brand like Black Label, Johnny Walker, take the airtime, pay me my money, and use it. Everybody wins. Nothing stops that from happening also on the radio.
Yeah. My bro, my last question to you, how would you like to be remembered?
Man, the best thing ever. Best thing ever, and how you experienced me. Best thing ever is how you experienced me. Through radio, through how you met me. And I followed through on my passion and my dreams, man. The best thing ever. It's like, yo, Sabby, the best thing ever. And what I like about people saying my name, Sabby, the best thing ever, there's an energy to it. It's rare to meet someone and say, oh, Sabby, the best thing. No. It requires energy, it requires positivity. And that's what I've always been about, Walk into a room, it's positive energy, it's color, it's vibrations, it's what are we doing, I've created a spiritual alignment on Metro and its growth also, you know, where every morning I've created a world of positive energy where people tap into that space. I'm big on positivity, man. There's so much negativity in the world where we need to create spaces like this where people can tap into and be inspired.
Absolutely.
There's already so much negativity that people find themselves immersed in, and it wasn't part of the plan. But yeah, he was Sabby. Yo, that guy, the best thing ever. Then you start smiling. If I can bring that when you think of me, I think I've done well.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, toast to you, my guy.
Toast to you, man.
Bless you, bro. Bless your journey. Just want to give you your flowers, bro. You're
Thanks,
the best
man.
thing ever, without a doubt, bro.
Yeah.
What you've been able to do and just your consistency as a human being. I think just outside of radio, it's something I've always appreciated, you know?
Yeah.
And just shout out to you, bro. It's like such an honor to get to sit down with you. And, you know, this conversation will live forever.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt they're going to use snippets in your documentary one
Oh,
day,
man.
you know? And
Shout
so
out
shout out
to
to you, bro.
Shout out to you. I don't think these kids know what you've done for the game, man. But
That's okay.
you know,
come
one
on
day
to
we'll
your
do a
show one
podcast.
day. Yeah, we'll come into your podcast. We'll tell the story. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, man. And congrats on everything. And just, yeah, bro, it's going to be exciting to watch your journey and everything else that unfolds. Like, it feels like you're just getting started, bro.
Yeah.
It feels like everything you touch becomes something incredible. And it's crazy to think what your next leap is going to be, bro.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, my bro.
Thank you so much, man. As long as my kids are proud of me, as long as, you know, everyone around me is proud of me, especially my kids, man. I'm not going to lie. You know.
Let's make a clip for them, bro. If one of your kids is on YouTube in like 50, 60, 70 years time and they come across this snippet here, what would you say to them?
Yo, Ori, my son, there's no person who will ever back you up like your dad. I believe in you so much, my boy. I think you're the greatest thing that's happened to me, the greatest thing to happen to this world. To my baby girl, Yenagayise, you know, no one is more happy to see you like dad. No one is more blessed to have you in my life like your dad. Thank you so much for making this whole life thing pivot the way it has with you guys in my life. Daddy loves you in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, in all lifetimes. I have it on my skin because through the skin, you know, it's that one thing in me that I can show to you guys that I'm committed to you guys from the day you guys were born to the day that I'm no more. And to my wife, man, thank you very much for giving me this privilege of being a parent with you, man. Love you to the moon and back. And yeah, you know, I'm proud to have you guys as my kids and to have you guys make me a dad, you know. I love my family. I love my kids, man. Love them. You know.
Special way to close this, bro.
Yeah, man.
Incredible. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, bro. Beautiful, bro. It's my favorite interview you've ever done, bro.
That was dope.
So dope, man.